Welcome everyone to the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners regular voting session on Wednesday, December 3rd. John Peacock, while you are still county manager, do we have any additions or deletions to today's agenda?
Thanks, Kelly. There are no additions or deletions to today's agenda.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just note Commissioner Woodruff is attending a statewide conference of counties representing Pickens County, and I want to make sure that Francie can hear us and we can hear Francie. All right.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks. Nice to see you.
Perfect.
We all enjoy your fire behind you. Okay, let's open up to public comment. Are there any folks who wish to give public comment on items not listed for public hearing today? Come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody. For the record, I'm Ellen Anderson, Aspen Village, concerned citizen. And I think this is just about 3 minutes. To the county commissioners, 2 weeks ago, I sent each of you, and I also sent to the Airport Advisory Board members and staff at Environmental Health and Public Health, links to several recent studies describing newly found hazards of ultrafine particles and nanoparticles to the human body. Several of those studies specifically linked these particles caused by aviation in particular at airports and human health. I hope you read them because you had the links that I sent you. Today I'd like to draw your attention to yet another very recent peer-reviewed study published in nature.com. It was just a few months ago in June of 2025. And I'll quote from the abstract to that article. Excuse me. Aircraft emissions of ultrafine particles during landing and takeoff operations pose increasing human health hazards for airport employees and near airport communities. I'm thinking Truscott, Burlingame, and so forth. Measurements of in-operation aircraft are therefore crucial for characterizing real-world aircraft emissions. We use 3 types of portable particulate matter sensors at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam over 3 different seasons to characterize the plumes, what comes out of the engines, from about 500 specific airport operations covering most aircraft types. And this is important. We find the importance of incorporating real-world observations when assessing the impacts of aviation on atmospheric composition and human health. In other words, they're saying it needs to be measured, not modeled. This paper cites 8 previous other measurements near airports of ultrafine particles from aircraft similar, and this happens to be similar to the a report that Amory tried to give to you guys back in 2023. Amory's results were dismissed by the county's then and current consultant, who said such measurements were not necessary and that you couldn't distinguish between ground vehicle emissions, cars and trucks on 82, and aircraft. She was wrong. They can, as further described in this article. And they show a chart of the background the pollution caused by the ground, the cars and trucks, and then you can see the peaks, just like mountains, of every individual aircraft operation. It's really fascinating. I'm going to send it to you. Further, Pickens still insists the need to measure only criteria pollutants. This is outdated. This is regulatory stuff that's years outdated. And therefore, you're excluding these nanoparticles and ultrafine particles, which the recent stuff in the last couple of years has shown is really the really bad stuff. So in conclusion, I think that you guys should focus on public health, not outdated regulatory compliance. Not doing so risks serious legal exposure to future liability, especially in light of the volumes of scientific stuff, and I've sent a lot of it to you, and medical evidence already presented and already available to you and the AAB. What I would like to suggest is it's time for a work session. You guys have never had a work session about the emerging science, and my request today is that you set up a work session with your consultants, with Amory, with people like me who have gathered a lot of information which is different from what your consultants are telling you, and let's have a point-counterpoint, intelligent discussion with real interaction with the public, not just 3 minutes. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, Ellen.
And I'd like to put this in the public record, and I would like to email the link to this just a couple months old new study, if I may. May I do
Please
that?
do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Let's see. Okay, any further public comment for items not listed for public hearing today? Don't see anyone online. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it to commissioner comments. Patty?
Yeah, I just want to, in light of public health, public safety, it's really slippery out there, folks. Not just in your car, but on your feet. And we've seen people slipping and sliding across in the street. So please, please slow down. Nobody needs to be in a real hurry these days. Take your time and be careful and think. Cross with your hands out of your pockets. Walk with your hands out of your pockets. Great way to break your elbow if you have your hands in your pockets. Better way to balance. And put your cell phone away when you're walking up and down the city streets, or even at in your own front yard. So be careful out there. We want everyone to enjoy the holiday season, the beautiful fresh snow. Snowmaking has been able to pump out more snow on all of the mountains. So please enjoy what we have here and just take your time. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Patty. Greg, any comments today?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So Ellen Anderson has come in a few times to discuss the growing body of data about pollutants. And I think it is something worth understanding. And what I'd really like to do is be able to have our public health staff look at what's happening and perhaps give us an update. I think that's something we could direct staff to do. It certainly is worthwhile, and there's always new information coming. I appreciate the concern on a global level what these pollutants are doing. I don't know if we have an awful lot of influence about what we can do locally, but I think it'd be smart to know about it, and maybe we could have a conversation about that. But I think it would start with a report from our experts at public health.
Thank you, Greg. I will note that we will have an item on the agenda relative to the airport's launch of an air quality
Yes.
assessment.
I think it's
and
on the 17th,
installation
maybe?
Of devices. And that will be an opportunity to hear some of that and then figure out, I think, where we need to learn more, where there are gaps. It is noticed for, well, right now on the future agendas, it's noticed for the 17th. The title is very opaque. You would have no idea it might talk about air quality. And so I'll just read it. It's an emergency ordinance approving an underground right-of-way easement between the BoCC and Holy Cross Energy and a trench conduit and vault agreement for the north runway line extension at the Aspen-Picken County Airport Sardi Field. You'd never know that was about air quality, so maybe we'll clean up the title or add something relative to make that more apparent to the public. We won't take public comment because it's an emergency ordinance, but there will be a confirmatory reading. And again, Ellen, you're always welcome at these to continue on the topic. And so I think from that, we'll have an opportunity to figure out where we're going, what we might need to learn more about as well. Francie, do you have any commissioner comments today? She does not. Okay. Then let's go ahead and move to the consent agenda. We have minutes of our November 19th regular meeting, and then we noticed a additional special meeting for that day to appoint Kara as our interim deputy or our interim county manager. So I need a motion to approve both of those sets of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Patty. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to individual consideration items. This is a one reading informal resolution. It's a long title, so I'm going to read it now and save us the energy later. Resolution of the BoCC declaring the official intent of the county to reimburse itself with the proceeds of a tax-exempt lease purchase financing for certain capital expenditures to be undertaken by Picken County with respect to the county's regional emergency dispatch center. identifying said capital expenditures and the funds to be used for such payment, and providing certain other matters in connection therewith. Before I turn it over to staff for presentation, Rye, Neely, do we take public comment on the this one reading informal resolution?
We don't usually, but of course you have your prerogative.
These
to open
things
it up
don't
if you
tend
would
to
like.
generate a whole lot of excitement, so
That's
I think
true.
we're okay with it the way it is today. Thank you. All right, Anne and Liz, hi.
Yeah, Andrigus, CFAO with me, Liz Woods, Finance Director, Treasurer and Public Trustee. Thanks for reading the title, so I don't have to. I probably would have shouted it because it's in capital letters, so that's just. So this resolution was prepared by Kutak Rock, our bond counsel. And you know, that it's a resolution that's considered to be administrative in nature, hence that's why it's informal. Doesn't have any impact on the public as such. Essentially, it's really down to a timing issue because of the nature of the construction of the dispatch center and the fact that we won't be able to have kind of ownership in terms of a deed and condominiumization until after it's complete, yet we still want to be able to apply all of the expenditures we have incurred during construction to the bond proceeds, which won't arrive until we actually have a structure. We need this resolution to say that basically we're going to apply all of the expenditures to date and 60 days prior to construction, all of the architectural and engineering expenditures that have taken place can be applied to bond proceeds, thereby reimbursing ourselves with the bond proceeds or the COPs in this case. So it's just really a timing issue, just making sure that we're actually covering our expenditures with the revenue that we get in. It's pretty straightforward. We're not, just in case the question comes up, we're not doing it for either the airport or the solid waste center because they have fund balance that's paying for this or cash upfront.
Questions, Patty?
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation. Clarifies my concern as to the funding and the completion of the dispatch center specific to another opportunity we may have at that facility. So thank you.
Correct. And on that, we will be bringing an update and a conversation
Great,
to the
thank you.
board.
Appreciate it a lot.
Further questions for Anne or Liz on this opportunity to reimburse ourselves on this capital project?
I would like to make a motion, and I'm not going to read the title.
I did it for you. Motion to approve?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, individual consideration items. First reading set for a second reading at a special meeting on December 9th. This is a resolution of the BoCC approving the 2026 budget. And do you want to present the mill levy at the same time, or should we do them separate?
I will talk about, I will talk about both resolutions, but then they will each need to be approved separately with the budget first and then the mill levies.
We will do that. Thank you, Connie.
I have a few comments and a couple of slides to share with the board. I should be fairly brief. The version of the budget resolution and the mill levy certification that's before the board today will change slightly for the second reading. As mentioned in the AIS, we did not, the timing of state statute as to when the assessor needs to have the final certification of values is not until December 10th. Our assessor's office did a great job in actually getting them to us this Monday evening. So Liz has been working through those, but that wasn't in time for the first reading of the resolutions. We will amend both resolutions and ask the board to approve them as amended at second reading on December 9th. I expect the changes will be pretty small. The amended version of the budget resolution will include slight adjustments to the budgets for property tax and treasurer's fees, plus the addition of one new FTE for open space and trails. This is a facility and operations supervisor. The position is a one-year, term-limited position to assist the Forest Service with management of maroon bells. The amended mill levy certification will include the final certification of assessed values and the final property tax numbers. And I share a couple of charts with the board. The total revenues in the resolution, well, not in the resolution because the revenues are not necessary in the resolution, but in our 2026 budget, total revenues for all funds are a bit over $301 million, as you can see on the pie chart there on the screen and in your packet materials. The airport this year is the largest chunk of that at 40%, with the general fund next. The total 2026 budget for all funds is 34% higher than last year's budget, increasing from $232 million to $312 million, just about, almost an $80 million increase. Of course, $75 million of that increase is for the first year of the airport modernization project. Again, you see the airport as being the largest segment of that budget, and the general fund next. No surprises here. This was all material that we've shown the board through the course of the budget meetings that we've had this fall. The fund balance summary chart should be familiar to the board also, where we show projected beginning fund balance, projected ending fund balance as a result of the budget. You see at the bottom our budgeted revenues of $301 million, operational expenditures of $183 million, and budgeted capital of $128 million. That capital budget is almost double what it was last year. Last year it was about $65 million, jumping to $128 million, and that gets our total of just under $311 million for expenditures. The next column shows transfers in and out, the net change in fund balance, and then our ending fund balance, which for all funds is $172 million, equal to 94% of operating expenditures, so a very healthy total fund balance. For the general fund, our total budget is about $62 million, and that's a 12% increase from last year. The general fund also, although the capital funds that the county is undertaking are not in the general fund does contain many of the positions that are necessary to support the capital projects. So that is part of that increase that you've seen for the 2026 proposed budget. The general fund staff support for other funds will be reimbursed to the general fund 1 year in arrears through the county cost allocation plan. And capital projects, of course, include, as the board is well aware, the airport modernization project, landfill expansion, new dispatch center, building electrifications at Health and Human Services and the library, Redstone Bridge replacement, Phillips Mobile Home Park, water and wastewater infrastructure, just to name a few. So a large budget, the largest in the county's history, but there is a lot of capital that's included, a lot that will be accomplished through this. The 2026 proposed budget also focuses on staff retention and recruitment by maintaining competitive wages and a very great benefit package. The budget includes a 4.5% pool for payroll adjustments and 0% increase to employee health insurance premiums. Then this year, for 2026, there's a new area of focus, addressing federal and state funding cuts. We've created in the general fund a BoCC stabilization pool with $500,000 per year over a 3-year period just for this purpose. But there are also budget line items in human services, public health, open space and the sheriff's office that also address this. Included in your packet is also a chart showing the correlation between expenditures and appropriations in the budget resolution. State statute requires that we approve the budget with the total appropriations rather than the total expenditures. When we're discussing the budget with the board, we talk about expenditures because that's the actual amount that will be spent. The transfers between funds kind of double that amount because you budget the transfer out and then you budget the expenditure of that transfer in the fund that it goes into. One example of this that the board could see is with the ambulance district. There's a budget of about $4.1 million and then a transfer of just under $485,000. That transfer goes into the debt service fund. And that $485,000 is a part of the debt service fund budget in order to pay the principal and interest on the COPs for the ambulance building. So just one example. So what you see in the budget resolution before you is $329 million for the total appropriations. So that's the difference between all of the charts we've shown you with the 312 and then all of a sudden the resolution shows 329. It's the transfers between the funds. Once the budget is approved, we'll ask the board to approve the mill levy certification. I'll go back to the chart. The attachment on the mill levy certification resolution shows the preliminary assessed valuations, and the preliminary valuations decreased 2.4% from the 2024 valuations. Next on the chart, you see the gross mill levy. That's the full voter-approved mill levy for the various county funds. The next two columns show the temporary mill levy credits. These are reductions in the mill levy so that we can comply with the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights while still maintaining our voter-authorized mill levies. Next, you see the net mill levy that produces in the property tax. But state statute allows us to recuperate the value of the prior year's mill levy abatements. So those are the next two columns, and that brings us to the total mill levy to be approved. So total mills for all county funds of 31.345. That gives us a total property tax of a little over 57 million. This does include the voter-approved increase to the Twining Flats General Road Improvement District mill levy.
I have a question. And this has never dawned on me in, 7 years of looking at the budget. But so we recollect the abatements that we paid out this year.
Not directly to those particular properties, but the overall value of those abatements can be recuperated the following year because those were amounts that legally we would have been allowed to collect and still be within the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights restrictions, or whether it's our Home Rule Charter or Taxpayer Bill of Rights or whichever one is the most restrictive.
Yeah.
We have to stay
Okay.
within that restriction.
I don't think I ever, that math dawned on me. I thought it was like, we're writing refunds out, the money goes away, so that's helpful to understand. Thank you. Any other questions right now on this?
That's the end of my comments. So I would ask if the board has questions or comments.
Any questions? We've talked about this a lot. We've had some deliberation over specific items within the budget.
Ready for
I'm not seeing, I
motion?
know Patty has some
I have
comments.
some concerns.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank staff from every level that helps put the budget together. I know as soon as we get it passed for 2026, you'll all be working on 2027. It's a never-ending, sometimes thankless job, and I want you to know how much I appreciate the time and energy and work that everybody puts into it. I have concerns about what's coming down from the federal level, and now with the state coming out with some human health services issues, what the hits are going to be to local government. And I have concerns about hiring full-time equivalents out of the general fund, and some specific issues about our fleet mix. Not that I don't support most of the full-time equivalent, the new positions. There are a few that I have concerns with that I've tried to resolve to no avail, that are coming right out of the general fund monies. As far as the fleet mix, I think it's great if we had all electric vehicles, but we don't really have the infrastructure in place yet. We don't have a plan, and not everyone has the luxury of either owning an electric vehicle themselves so they know how to operate one, how to charge it, where the chargers are from, say, here to Denver. I would prefer that, and I voiced this, that we do a mixed fleet with hybrids and electrics moving forward, at least for the next year, till we get all the ducks lined up to start adding more and just focusing more on the electric vehicle side. And I just am very protective of the general fund dollars, not knowing what we may have to come up with to provide food on people's tables and health care for people within our community. 1,000% increase in their health insurance when they can barely pay for health insurance now. Is that going to mean no health insurance for them so they can eat and heat their homes? I think those are unknowns that we have as a board, and those are priorities, I think, for me, and I think for many members of the board, but I'm sticking to them as far as this budget. I believe that maybe in 6 months, maybe I'm being really optimistic, we'll have a better idea of what's happening at the federal and or the state level, and we'll have the money in the fund. We do great supplementals during the year. The board has been very receptive of that process. I don't have a problem with it coming back to us in 6 months or in the 2027 budget if we have money in the general fund that we've been able to save, that we didn't have to use for emergency situations and backfilling so that people had heat and food and health care. Then that, so be it. But I'm just concerned about taking money out of the general fund now for things that sound great and may be great, but I'm really concerned about providing for our community. So I will not be, this is the first time in 23 years I have not moved a budget forward on my own, and this is going to be my first, and it's been a very difficult decision.
Thank you, Patty. And I'll just note, Patty, I agreed with some of your dissension and tried to find ways to move the board closer to consensus by proposing some maybe not filling positions when they come open or things like that. I'm sorry we couldn't get there.
I know, we tried, and I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, thank you. Greg,
I was just going to make a motion to approve it.
on first reading, set for second reading and public hearing on a special meeting on December 9th, which we will hold on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday, so we can meet state's deadlines. Thank you, Greg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Francie. Any further discussion?
I'll just note that hopefully on the 9th we'll have a full board here.
Yes,
So
we
that
expect to.
yeah, thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, please
I'm
say nay.
opposed.
Okay, 3-1. All right, now we have a resolution approving the mill levy certification.
This one I can support because we don't really have a choice. And we have all these special districts that have worked hard to stay within their budgets, but with costs going up and weather changes and et cetera issues, bridges or whatever, they vote a lot of these mill levy increases are special to their district, but it also sets the tone for the entire county. So I will do a motion to approve the mill levy resolution as before us on first reading.
All right, thank you, Patty. Thank you, Francie. I'll note Greg has stepped away. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's a 3-0. Okay, thank you, Connie. We have to celebrate you. We'll celebrate you again, and all the staff and all the department heads who work really hard on this. Thank you very much.
You stepped out for the vote.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to. I'm an aye.
Well,
Too late now.
That's all right,
the
too.
record says 3-0. You'll get a second chance on the
I'll get another
9th
chance.
if you're.
I'll be phoning it
able to
in
join
that
us.
day.
All right, let's move on to first readings, which will be set for a public hearing on Wednesday, the December 17th. Let's see, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners approving fourth quarter budget supplementals, which we went over in detail yesterday during work session. Thanks, Connie.
Yes, there are only a few for fourth quarter, and staff was here yesterday to answer questions and go over them. The resolution increases the county's 2025 budgeted expenditures by $1,050,000, offset by an increase in budgeted revenues of $470,000 for a net increase in budget of $580,000. The supplemental request included an increase to the detention's cash bonds budget. It's a net zero, both revenue and expenditure, zero out. In the attorney's office, an increase to professional services. In the Human Services Fund, an increase for the supplemental nutrition program benefits, and for the Garfield County IGA for child support services. In the Risk Fund, workers' compensation premium, and in the Transit Sales and Use Tax Fund, a RAFTA zero fare pilot project. Any questions from the board?
I am not seeing any. So, thank you. That was clear yesterday. Is there
Make a motion to approve.
Go ahead, Greg. Thank you.
Second?
Thank you, Francie. Any further discussion?
I do have a comment.
Go ahead.
As far as the attorney's office and the great job the attorney's office and our Healthy Rivers and Streams office and our outside legal counsel on water, it's been amazing. It's amazing how much we've come forward, how we're reorganizing and organizing our water issues within the county, and how we're impacted by things we have no control over outside of the county. And I really want to express my appreciation for that effort, and that we need to appropriately fund water, because I think we have a lot more water issues coming our way, and we need to be prepared to protect the water we have here, the water we may be able to bring here, the water we may be able to keep here, and in light of trying to educate the state as a whole on our efforts and what we've done, and how much we need assistance throughout Colorado and our surrounding downriver or other side of the mountain, especially areas that get our water. And I just think it's part of the supplemental fourth quarter to adequately fund that effort is really key to so many issues related to Pickens County.
Agreed. Thank you. All right, if there is no further discussion, we'll approve this for first reading, set for public hearing on December 17th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Francie is frozen.
Okay.
You say aye? Okay.
Aye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Connie.
Francie. Okay, item number 6. This is a resolution of the BoCC approving an agreement with the Roaring Fork Transportation Authority and Holy Cross Energy for the Aspen Airport Business Center Integrated Clean Energy Microgrid Project. Welcome, Michael Port. Kevin, good to see you guys. Cheers. You guys done a great job on this. So please go ahead and give us a summary. We've walked through this in detail in work session as well.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again. I am Michael Port, Climate Action Analyst, joined by
Kevin Warner.
This has been a 7-year-long project from the time we started ideating on a microgrid. I had the pleasure of coming in a couple years ago to start working on it, so we're very excited to bring this agreement to you today. Again, as we talked about in the work session a couple of weeks ago, this agreement is really going to be a model for local governments in Colorado and elsewhere on a shared ownership agreement around a microgrid. This is a pretty novel approach that we've taken, and as that 7 years tells us, has been a long process, but we're glad to have this agreement ready for signature. We did go through the nuts and bolts of what's in the agreement during the work session, so we're not going to rehash that again for you today. There were a couple minor edits that were requested, which we made in there, and we just wanted to address the question that you had, Patty, about why we weren't including 2025 in the appropriations. So we did not add anything there, and that's because anything from 2025 on is related to just ongoing operations for us. Everything is built, everything was appropriated through 2024, so that's why that is in the agreement. That's the shared capital. But yeah, we hope, unless you have any other questions, can move this forward for a second reading.
Greg?
Could you guys put like a phone charger just out in front so people can go plug in, charge their phones off it? So give them an idea what it's about.
Technically, it's probably possible, yes.
That's all the answer I needed.
But we didn't
In jest.
appropriate $1 million to do that, so I don't think it's
The
gonna
real
happen.
opportunity, though, and sorry, you just made me brainstorm there. The animal shelter is actually on the microgrid. And there's a lot of people that go through that facility, and it may be worth putting a little educational piece up there about hardening that facility. And, you know, dog people are social. They talk.
I was gonna
So
say, I don't think the
there-
dogs
it
would
may
get
meet your
but-
educational requirement there,
As
Greg.
long as they're not charging their electric fence with it or something evil.
You might lose electricity at home, but your dog will be fine.
Yeah, your dog will be nice and warm. Your dog will be warm on its heated
You
blanket.
may want to book your own reservation to spend the night at the shelter with your dog.
I bet Seth would come up with something clever.
Sleep
That's great.
over,
I love
right.
that. Further discussion or questions? This is very exciting.
Motion.
Francie, sorry, go ahead.
I just have some, if somebody could explain to me a little bit about the termination clause. I was a little disturbed reading that it looks like we can just stop at some point because somebody else wants to and requires us all to stop the whole project. Could somebody explain that?
I think I would need to get back to you on the specifics of that, but what I will say is the agreement is kind of quite late in being signed, honestly, because a lot of the capital that was, we were agreeing to build the battery and we were agreeing to do the project. A lot of that has already happened. So this agreement was kind of ideally going to be signed a year or two ago, and it took a long time to get through legal. So I think a lot of that has already taken place. But on the specific concerns about termination, we could get more information for you for the next read.
Okay, thank you.
Can I follow up and just ask, was there anything out of the ordinary about that?
I was gonna jump in if it's okay.
Please, go
I
ahead.
worked
County
on
attorney.
various
Riley.
versions of this agreement, which have gone back a number of times. It's not terribly unusual to have this kind of mutual termination language in the agreement, in a lot of our agreements. I know it is potentially concerning that one party could walk away, I guess, but it doesn't change the obligations for, as Michael mentioned, a lot of the obligations for funding the project have already taken place. At this point, we're really talking about ongoing maintenance, and I would assume if one of the parties terminated, there would be either the ability to pick that up between the remaining parties, and or it would be terminated because the purpose of the agreement is largely no longer relevant, meaning it's the battery's not functioning anymore or the project isn't working anymore for whatever reason that may be. A lot of times, Francie, our agreements will have a time frame upon which a party needs to provide a notice that the agreement's going to be terminated. This one doesn't have that, but I recall looking at it, and or does it have it?
I'm looking at it right now. It does say the agreement may be terminated without stating a cause upon 1 year's written
Okay.
notice.
All right. So, thank you, appreciate it. That does provide, that lead up provides essentially a year to backfill one party terminating the agreement is often how we'll draft these, so.
Well, okay, thank you, Ray. Michael, you don't have to follow up beyond that. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Francie. Patty?
There also, I think, is the opportunity to add parties to this agreement with some other entities in the neighborhood, like CMC, that we may be able to bring in the future. Can we do that with the existing, or would we have to expand, or either or?
Is that a
So,
technical question or a legal question?
Either or.
good
Well,
clarification.
we can do it both. If you want to talk about the technical side of it, that's fine. The short answer is all we'd have to do is modify the agreement to add another party to it, which would be relatively straightforward, assuming that the party wanted to either step into the shoes of one party that's stepping out and or provide some unique contribution to the project. Whatever that would be, we'd memorialize it in an amendment to the agreement. If there's not a termination or one of the parties isn't stepping out, we could add somebody, but the technical feasibility of doing that and the practical side of it, I'd leave to these guys.
But on the legal side, in adding them to the agreement, then it would be approved by all existing signatures to the agreement.
Any amendment to the agreement requires written authorization of all parties to
Great.
the agreement.
Thank you. And technically, either or. We could be expanding the opportunity, or we could just be adding somebody to the existing.
Yes, so I would say certainly it would be a collaboration with Holy Cross to determine the right way to set that up, but technically it would be feasible. We're basically installing equipment that creates the boundaries of where the microgrid sits, and so that can be added to or taken away from, is my understanding, based on where you place those on the grid,
Great.
because it's
And I
just a
know, isn't
network.
there a kind of foresight that, yeah, we might be expanding, so we're putting in the parameters of where we might want to increase the opportunity?
The next steps haven't really been defined yet of how we are going to, expand or alter the microgrid boundaries. But I think the long-term vision for this project is that it's scalable and that we can adapt and evolve it as we see fit in
I
the
think that's a
future.
really good point for the public to know. We're only here now, doesn't mean we might not be here then. Okay, thanks.
That extra space in the fence is like the future potential, right?
It's for dog run,
visual.
warm dog run.
Greg?
I just wanted to say, yeah, this is great. It's great to see it come this far. I know it was scaled back a little bit, but this is a good place to be, and so we know it's scalable. And John, you mentioned educational opportunities. I'm hoping the airport, as soon as possible, has a display about the microgrid and why this is unique. Like, we could be doing that tomorrow. Same with the other entities are plugged in. The RAFTA facility, not that many people go out there, but just thinking, why don't we start with the informational campaign about that now, because it is significant and it's something we can all be very proud of. And my final suggestion was that we put a massive Tesla coil out there right next to the battery and really give people an idea of what we're doing there.
And put Greg's phone number on all of this so people can call him when they have no idea what he's talking
If I
about.
could speak for Jeffrey, that's not in the WOMP. I think
Yeah.
But it would be cool.
All right, that
Sounds
hurt,
like
that
a,
one hurt, John, that one
sounds like a
hurt.
film someone should make to
Damn,
run
that's
at
right.
the airport.
There'd be a conflict of
Exactly, a
interest, and he
video.
has not recused himself.
All right.
Video.
Great,
This
thank
is
you.
great. We're
Thanks,
excited.
thanks.
Motion to
And
approve.
Please. All right, Greg, I'll take that as a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thanks, Patty. Any further discussion? All right, we will see this at second reading for public hearing on December 17th. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, the next
Calling you Sparky.
4 items are all related. I will read them all at once and then we'll vote on them separately. Ordinance of the BoCC approving and accepting the deed of conservation easement for Keno Gulch property. Ordinance approving and accepting a trail easement agreement for Keno Gulch Trail. Ordinance granting an access easement agreement for the Park Tunnel Road. and an ordinance accepting restrictive covenants for the Cloud 10 Aspen LLC Keno Gulch property. We have Paul Holsinger from Open Space and Trails. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hello, yes, I'm Paul Holsinger, Open Space and Trails Agriculture and Conservation Easement Manager, and that gave me enough time to get a map up, which is always helpful.
Great.
Yeah, all 4 of these items are related to a lengthy process that we've gone through over the past year plus. Back in October of last year, the county agreed to an exchange agreement that was conditioned upon a landowner obtaining a development approval. And what the exchange agreement did was gave access to the landowner across these 2 parcels. Let me change my cursor so it's a little easier to see. So there's my hand. Oh no, never mind. It still went away. So across these 2 parcels here, it allowed them to submit a development approval for a rural and remote cabin on this piece of their parcel, which is in total 55 acres. It's this black outline. And in that exchange agreement negotiation, in exchange for access across those 2 parcels, the county negotiated a conservation easement on all but 5 acres of the property. The 5 acres kind of sitting up here. In addition, there was trail easement on this road that cuts up through the property and connects to this park tunnel road that ultimately gains you access to Summer Road. Also, in the negotiation, there was some worry about visuals, and so a scenic covenant was negotiated so that this cabin wouldn't be seen from Castle Creek Road and Highway 82. So all that was agreed to in the exchange agreement back last October, and this October, the landowners went through the development process and gained that development approval. And this is just one more step in accepting all of these documents that we negotiated through the contract or exchange agreement. And now we're at a place to finalize these and accept the easements and grant an official easement over the park tunnel. I can go into more details, but we have talked about this quite a bit. And it is a little confusing, but I'll take any questions you have.
Okay.
Can I ask a green?
Please, go
On
ahead.
the map, green is Forest Service land, right?
Green is Forest Service. And I'll point out that, so the tan is 100% Pickens County ownership. These blue pieces are partial county ownership. So county only owns partial of these pieces here. It's a mining claims nightmare up there. So it's an interesting piece of history. But yes.
Any further questions about
Yes,
these?
please.
Yes, Francie.
Paul, it seemed to me that some of the language in all of these documents was kind of generic and couldn't really apply to this particular piece of property. I don't know, is that okay? I mean, this property is very specific, and so it just seemed like, I don't know, for instance, having commercial hunting on the property seemed like a stretch. And there were some other things too that I thought were maybe not necessarily inappropriate, but that weren't applicable to this particular piece of property.
Yeah, but I will say that the conservation easement is pretty basic because we're not really allowing too much. So we kind of took our basic protection document and we didn't have to fiddle around with it too much just because we're not allowing much of anything. The building site and the activity envelope are not included in this. The only thing that we are making sure is incorporated is that trail easement, and so we've incorporated that language, but otherwise it is a pretty thin conservation easement in physical size is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Restricted.
But yeah,
It is, and so it just seemed like, it was kind of like allowing things that would be absolutely impossible on that property.
yeah, we do that in a fair amount of our conservation easements, where if it's, we get that question a lot, where this isn't allowed in the land use code anyway, so why are we putting it in a conservation easement? What we've always fall back on is the conservation easement is perpetual, the code can change, and so we might as well just put it in the conservation easement and make sure that it's final. I don't know if that helps, but.
Is there anything that's really bothering you, Francie, about it? Like any section?
No, I just thought, I feel like I'm reading about something else, you know? It's kind of the way I felt when I was reading some of it. So, I mean, I was struck by the fact that there's some commercial opportunity on the property, which seemed strange.
We have 2 readings here if you have any comments about this. I will
No,
say.
I just thought if you had something more to say about that, I would be interested to hear it, but.
I'm gonna maybe let Rye weigh in. He looks like he wants to say something, and then I'll go to Patty and Greg.
I mean, I can certainly help, perhaps, I shouldn't say certainly, perhaps I can help. Our conservation easement document, while Paul described it as thin, is one that's been honed over a number of years to a document that we're very comfortable with providing basic protections in the context of a conservation easement. For things like specific commercial activity that may or may not be allowed in a particular zone district, if it's not something that we have bargained away or bargained for during the deal, we typically would not specifically address it because we either haven't, one, paid for it in the context of a conservation easement that we purchased, and or provided some other form of consideration, whether that's a land use approval, or in this case, a combination of a land use approval and the exchange of some property interests. May not help, but the language is pretty typical in our conservation easements. So.
Okay.
It is.
If,
Yeah.
if you're comfortable with it, I mean, I'll be comfortable with it.
I'll just add one more thing that I'm looking at the language now, and it does allow commercial uses as long as they're conducted consistent with internal revenue code that kind of oversees conservation easements. So there's some further limitations on there too. But it's our standard language, and generally, yeah, we add this to all of our CEs.
Okay, thank you.
Patty?
Yeah, I was pretty much just gonna reiterate, the standard it's just a standard document. And we put stuff in there because you never know what might happen tomorrow or in a year or in 10 years. So this is, and a lot of it came out of when we first started doing conservation easements. This was a learning process. And just to bring in confidence and support from our community that we would hold people to a conservation easement, this language became standard. So that's why it says, well, they're really gonna do X on that parcel, maybe not tomorrow, but who knows, and we don't want it to happen in the future. So therefore, I'm really comfortable moving forward with all of these and getting this project done.
Greg?
Well, thanks,
sorry.
Patty. I agree with you that I want to move it forward too. I guess the one that really stood out for me was the hunting one. Because it's just, it seems like a strange place to allow commercial hunting. And is that something that we want to do, allow commercial hunting out there? I doubt if these guys are going to lease out their property for hunting up there, but
You never know.
is everybody else okay with leaving that in there?
I just want to clarify, we don't allow short-term rentals, as, per the land use code. And so I don't know how they would rent accommodation for people to use that as a hunting?
Probably wouldn't rent it. They could potentially allow something like an outfitter to use the property or something like that in the context of the outfitter's larger operation in the area, theoretically.
Day trips to go hunting?
There are commercial uses that are allowed in the rural remote zone district. One of those would be outdoor recreational commercial outfitting. Typically, you would need an attendant permit from community development to do that on some level. The overarching thing that Paul can probably elaborate on more is that all activity in the conservation easement cannot impair or impede or diminish the conservation values that are stated at the outset of the agreement. So while you could potentially, while the agreement says that commercial hunting, for example, since we're talking about that, isn't outright prohibited, if it were conducted in a way that impaired the conservation values, it would not be allowed under the conservation easement. So typically what that looks like, and again, Paul can elaborate on this, is a particular activity like that would usually be vetted by the conservation easement manager or approved by the county if it were the type of a use that needed to be approved by the conservation easement holder, and or through the process of monitoring the easement if there was some concern that the level of commercial use had degraded the conservation values. That would be the time to raise that with the property owner. To some extent, we're trying not to be overly heavy-handed with eliminating potential uses of the property that we can't anticipate, or even if we can anticipate, we're not sure the scale or what might actually take place in the future. But Paul can talk to you about the hierarchy of conservation values in the document itself, with the conservation values being the premier guiding post for the docucument. So.
But I mean, is there any step that they would have to take before they let people hunt there?
Who's they?
I mean, because first of all, hunting seasons overlap with the ski season. And, I don't know, it just seems weird. But if everybody else has no problem with it, I'm happy to move on.
Let me go to Greg.
Okay, yeah, I do have a problem with it. I don't think there should be any commercial use of anything on this conservation easement. I think that, and I can explain why, I can go into detail, but I don't think it's appropriate to have hunting up there. It's been sold to us already as that this isn't really important wildlife habitat. Although I do see sign, and did see a lot of sign of elk just on the trees there, all the scrapings I saw when I was on the site visit. So I know it's a wildlife area, but I don't want to make a deal with Matt to allow him to have a commercial operation of any type up there. I think that the reason being is this is honestly, my feeling about the entire deal with this property is that it's unfortunate that Pitkin County doesn't have the ability to find properties like this and put them into a conservation easement before we have entrepreneurs coming in to exploit it for various personal gain. And it baffles me why we haven't been able to do this in 40 or 50 years. And so I have real problems with this. And I think that a deal has been cut, and we've made an access agreement across a treacherous piece of road. It still has flooding issues, as we saw on the trip. And I would say this is limited to a personal private cabin back there, and that would be it. And so I'm thinking that this is one case where we're seeing development in rural and remote where I think the community would rather not see it, yet we let it happen in exchange for opening a trail which had not really been used in 100 years. So if anything, we're taking habitat off the table. We're creating habitat loss here. We don't have a complete trail, and I really have always had a hard time with this. I'm hoping Matt at some point will decide to help us. He's so good at these. He's so brilliant at finding these pieces of property. I'm hoping he'll actually help us put things like this in the public trust rather than making them a private enterprise. That's all I have to say about that. I'm not sure how I'm going to vote on this yet. I'm still listening. But when it comes down to commercial use, I'd like to see that stricken from the contract, or I'll probably be voting no. Thanks.
Point of
Okay,
clarification.
yeah, I'd like some clarification as well.
So to do any, they have to still come through a process. They just can't say we're going to commercially use this for hunting now. Don't they have to have something from ComDev? Didn't you mention?
I don't know what the process is with ComDev. According to the conservation
It's not just
easement.
a standard. You can bring a group of pheasant hunters up there and look for birds.
No, it's still the way we refer to it in the conservation easement. They have to abide by Colorado Parks and Wildlife rules and any other applicable laws. So, and I don't think this is their intent for this property. The hunting section is something that I feel comfortable going back to them if we really want to. The commercial use is so broad that it could be a little complicated, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's just a given. I don't think it's technically a right by use. I think there's a process because of the impacts of whatever the commercial use may be, the size, the scale, the type, the scope, any of that. So it's not just an automatic given.
And
Sorry, go ahead, Paul, and then I have a comment.
yeah, and I'll refer to RIDE too. I mean, this was in a contract that we all agreed to, so I don't know how much leeway we have with these documents since we've already agreed to them and we've signed off
Yes.
on the contract or exchange agreement. But I can certainly do my best to get this to a place that's a little more comfortable for everybody.
I'm comfortable with it now. I just would like to know if they can just come in and bring in an entourage of guys with guns.
I mean, I would note, we don't have commercial licensing authorities. So no one comes to the county to say, I'm starting a business and I have a business license that we then can regulate upon. You know, the state continues to not give us these powers. And so I'm not as convinced as you are that there is some process. You know, what I could see up there is like a commercial backcountry ski guide situation, you know, where they're launching from the cabin and then guiding people out into the
Well, let's clarify with ComDev by second reading.
I think
be comfortable.
I think it's reasonable to also go to them and see if we can just add to the commercial use language that we'd like to just add grantor approval or grantee approval, which would mean they'd have to come to open space first just to make sure that this is not diminishing the conservation values of the property.
Okay, thank you.
other concerns. This is first reading. We will have a chance to let you guys go back for further
If
discussion.
I could, only that I'd like to contemplate, and your conversations contemplate, just eliminating commercial use. This is not what their intended purpose is presently. They've represented that that's not the goal. So let's just codify that in this agreement.
We have to go back to the applicant too.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We can't just do it ourselves right here
But
today.
we are the ones who make the agreement. The agreement hasn't been made. The agreement's been written, but we are the ones who agree to it.
And they, it's my understanding that they have to go back to them to make sure they're in agreement.
Correct, yeah.
So it's not something we can just do on our own. We have to confer with the party, the applicant.
Brian, do you want to weigh in on anything before we
No, I mean, if
wrap this up?
we can certainly ask if the board's comfortable with, I think what Paul was suggesting is saying that commercial uses would need to be approved by the grantee prior to them taking place on the property. That's probably something I would imagine that the property owner would be interested in. Some of the commercial use language that we contemplate in our conservation easements allow things like installation of renewable energy facilities that connect into the grid and things like that. So there are some commercial type of uses that have a net benefit to probably the county or the property.
Or education.
Or, yeah, education would likely be one of those. So I think we would just, probably makes more sense to go down the road of requiring grantee approval in line with the conservation purposes of the document, rather than striking it from the agreement altogether, because there could be some things in the future that the board could think are good, beneficial to this property or other properties that you may want the ability to approve or disapprove in the future.
I'd be comfortable with that.
Me too.
Question, wouldn't this board in the future be able to amend that agreement?
Once the conservation easement is written, we wouldn't be able to amend the agreement. But something like if the conservation agreement requires grantee approval before a certain type of use is conducted on the property, that would be memorialized and set forth in the agreement, which is essentially the contract between us and the property owner. And it would be exercised, that approval would be exercised pursuant to the terms of the contract, or in this case, the conservation agreement, meaning there's a procedure in the conservation easement for approving a use that would
Right.
usually be approved by your conservation easement manager.
Yeah, just when you mentioned, I know it's just an example, but, connecting it to the grid, it's like, wait a minute, this is an off-grid
It isn't, so
property. It's
that
like,
particular
maybe that's
use
not
is
the right
likely
example.
not
It's
applicable to
probably-
this property now. Whether there's grid facilities in this area in 100 years or something like that, I don't know the answer to that, but that would be the kind of, well, nobody knows the answer to that. But striking all commercial use in the conservation easement, just as a flat-out ban, could potentially preclude some kind of use in the future that we're not contemplating right now, that it may provide an incentive or maybe to the landowner to do something like connect into a grid system, or some other commercial use that we aren't anticipating right now. So,
I think like a better example might be, we have a school down here, and we do know that they use this old road as a skin track. There may be some point in the future where they want to memorialize that in some sort of use. And I think as a grantee, we would probably approve that, because it's allowing kids to access a ski run from the school.
Would that be a commercial use?
I think potentially.
I think that's the hard answer to the question, is potentially some of these things could rise to the level of commercial use. Like, let's say there was to Paul's example, some kind of, one of our local skiing providers wanted to use this as part of their program. Theoretically, that could be allowed now with grantee approval, but would not be allowed if there was just a straight prohibition on commercial use on the
I mean,
property.
like cut down all the trees and make a ski trail?
There's not any, the conservation easement currently prohibits commercial timber harvest, and I think that I know there's also specific provisions regarding logging on the property that likely would not allow for that type of
So to
use.
cut a ski trail, you wouldn't be possible, even
Wouldn't
if it
be
was less for logging, more for skiing?
Yeah.
So this won't be a ski resort?
No, I know that people
I
ski
doubt
here
that.
today, but I don't think that it would
It's
be.
extremely dangerous. People have died in there. It's in a high avalanche
Sure.
zone. So it's a potential public threat if that's an appealing looking ski area. The people who go in there generally do it with either great awareness or not enough, and there have been deaths in there as a result.
Sure. So I think if Paul has got some direction from the board to go back and talk to the property owner about that.
And I just want to clarify, we've been really focused on the conservation easement. Are there elements of the trail easement agreements for the Keno Gulch Trail or the Park Tunnel Road, or for the restrictive covenants that board members have?
I'm good. Like I said at the beginning, I'm good with where we're going.
Just want to make sure if we need to give any more direction to Paul.
I was okay with everything else, just that commercial use, mostly the hunting for me, but
Got it.
all the commercial use parts. But I'm happy with Rise and Paul's recommendation to to have a requirement that they come to the board to make sure that whatever commercial use they want to do is approved. I think that's where we are.
Clarify, I heard Paul say they would go to open space, so I'm unclear if this is an administrative task or.
Okay, good point, good question.
Yeah, the way I'm thinking of it is grantee approval means approval with the conservation easement manager, which currently is me. It is open space and trails. And the other piece that I will talk to the landowners about is removing the allowance for commercial hunting. I heard that as well. And
Is that the, just to be clear, is that the, I don't see commercial hunting in the document. I do see the ability to lease the property, the lease hunting rights on the property.
oh, that's right. Leasing of the hunting rights.
Is that what your concern about is, Francie? Because I don't see commercial hunting. I think as a general rule, commercial hunting is not allowed anywhere in the state. There's outfitted hunting, but like
Well,
commercial
it just
hunting.
says hunting and the leasing of hunting rights.
Yeah,
On the
right.
property may be permitted or prohibited at grantor's discretion.
Mm-hmm.
That's them, right? The grantors,
Correct.
them?
Yes. So they can hunt, pursuant to that language, the property owner can hunt on the property. And then if they wanted to lease it to a third party, their neighbor or somebody in Aspen to allow them to hunt on the property, this would not prevent them from doing that. And then there's a separate category of commercial, the potential for commercial uses.
Well, why isn't that commercial if they're leasing out the hunting rights? Why isn't that considered commercial?
I don't think that would, I mean, I guess the way I contemplate that is that typically wouldn't be like a business that the property owner has. I guess they would be generating some money, but it wouldn't be like a commercial use that's defined under our land use code. Just like leasing somebody the ability to hay your field wouldn't necessarily be a commercial use as defined by our land use code. It's just a bundle in the sticks of property rights that a person has on their property, whether that be the ability to take crops off of it or hay, or the ability to hunt on it and allow somebody else to hunt on it. Those are the types of things that I don't think necessarily fall into commercial scale use, or at least under our code, there's no commercial haying operation or commercial hunting. So I wouldn't call that a commercial use as opposed to just allowing.
Because, I mean, for instance, if you lease a whole ranch for haying and grazing and stuff, you might be paying the landowner $30,000, $50,000, $60,000. That's not considered commercial?
No,
We don't consider short-term rentals commercial either.
right.
Okay.
Greg?
Nope, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say,
I don't understand the meaning of the word commercial.
I'm uncomfortable enough with this, as much as I appreciate Matt and Kate and their in-laws who've partnered on this. I'm going to be voting no on all of this, probably just as a protest vote, because I think it's a failing on the part of Pitkin County. I do appreciate Andrew, Paul Holzinger. I'm sorry, I was thinking Andrew. I appreciate, Paul, everything you've done for ag. I don't want this to reflect poorly on your activities as a manager. I just think that philosophically this goes completely against my purpose as a county commissioner. And so I'll be voting no on this, and hopefully people understand why. Thanks.
Okay, and I'll just note, Greg, I missed you at the land use hearing on this, because I voted no on the land use.
No.
We would have still been in the minority, which is fine, it's the way it goes. I have a little bit of a different look on it, because, I lost at the land use, which would have prevented us from getting here in the first place. But I think, given a bad project, good benefits to the community have been negotiated. And I feel like I should accept those good benefits to a project I don't like, for the community. And so I'm gonna support these, and I look forward to further clarification at second read. And so I'm gonna walk us through all 4 of these. The first one being, can I have a motion, please, on the ordinance approving and accepting the deed of conservation and easement for the Keno Gulch property?
I'll make a motion with the caveat that staff would be bringing back to us further clarification of
Grantee approval.
commercial uses and a process involved in such.
Is there a second?
A second?
Okay, further discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Thank you, Greg. An ordinance approving and accepting a trail easement agreement for the Keno Gulch Trail.
Make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Patty. Is there a second?
Yes.
Thanks, Francie. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay, Greg. Ordinance granting an access easement agreement for Park Tunnel Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll move. Second?
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, Greg, thank you. An ordinance accepting restrictive covenants for the Cloud 10 Aspen LLC Keno Gulch property. Is there a motion to approve?
Approve. Motion to.
Is there a second? Do you want a second, Francie? Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Oh,
Thank you.
I just
Brian.
want to clarify, Francie, you are an aye in favor of the motion, right?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
No, I could. I just think maybe it came in a little delayed. So we have 3-1 on 7, 8, and 9, all the ordinance relative to the Keno Gulch property. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
Ooh,
Brian.
Paul, I have a 6-year-old who wants to talk to you about your mandolin on Friday night.
Oh,
Okay.
I've got plenty of time.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
So heads up on that one.
Yeah. Individual consideration items, public hearings, second readings. Number 11, a resolution of the BoCC setting initial airport rates and charges for 2026.
Don't look nervous. I'm in a better mood now.
Well, we've had quite a
don't get up
lot
and
of
leave while we're making
discussion
the vote.
on these.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you so much. I actually am lucky enough to be joined by Liz Woods and Brian Elliott with Recondo Online. We are in front of you for our second read of our annual rates and charges, and I apologize, there's a typo on the issue statement. We can present you with both options that were shown in the work session in the first read. However, staff recommended, and I believe we came out of the first read with scenario 2, which was taking 50% of the costs of the pavement management this spring out of our fund balance to use that to reduce the possibility of the landing fees. Still an increase in landing fees, but not where it would be with scenario 1. So we're happy to run through the presentation for everyone, or we can just discuss scenario 2.
We have talked about this quite in length a number of times, so I want to check in to see if a board wants a full presentation again, or to focus the discussion on this proposal.
Can
Greg.
if I could, John, you were so articulate and eloquent in your defense of the 50% deal that I'd love you to repeat that. And if you could, can we imagine a time when we wouldn't be doing that?
So I'm going to start with the last question first, and the unequivocal answer to that is yes. When the runway is rebuilt and we are not annually doing repairs that should have a longer lifespan that the FAA will not reimburse us for, we will have a different cost structure, which brings me to the why the sharing, why would we be in this role with the landing fees. in 2008, and I'm going to try and recall as best I can. I may not be quite as eloquent, but the basic logic is that back in 2018, we had an approved FONSI as well as commitments of grant funding to rebuild the runway. At that time, we weren't experiencing the annual maintenance. The subsurface issues had not emerged to the degree that they are today. At that time, the board elected to take a step back because the board felt that there was not enough public process before redoing the airfield, and we went through the vision committee process, which was an extended process, and then we hit COVID, which put all these projects on the back shelf. And in those intervening years, the surface issues with the runway deteriorated, and it's resulted in us having to do these annual repairs. It is a legitimate position of the board to take a step back to do more public process on a major public infrastructure project like this. But it's also, I think, as you expressed it, Greg, it's one of the unintended expenses of the public process. And so we have, as staff, we felt that burden should be shared. And so that's why we proposed the 50%.
Got it. So if I could,
Yeah, go ahead.
So the cost of the public process has become apparent in that regard. It's a kind of an unexpected cost for people who love the idea of a public process, but realizing it comes at a great cost.
Yep.
And this is just a perfect example of that. I'm not saying we shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying it's an expensive thing to do, and as we move forward, it's good to keep that in mind. Liz can remind us from now on.
Yes, Francie. Patty.
Back to your question. I'm comfortable with staff just presenting the scenario 2, since I think that's the direction we're moving. And if anything comes up where scenario 1 may, be part of the discussion on scenario 2, I'm fine with that. But I think we should focus on where we're trying to go and doing the best we can in getting us there.
Francie.
Yeah, I have a question for Diane. Maybe she can help me understand. It seems to me, I did a little bit of math while I was going through this morning, and it seems to me that the cost for let's say a Gulfstream or something to land here, which averages somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 pounds, and it's 1,000 pounds, comes out to be a few $100s. Like $600 or something, somewhere between, say, $500 and $1,000. And that just seems to me a really, really small amount of money to charge somebody who owns a great big huge private jet and flies in a jet that weighs the same thing as a commercial jet, but only carries 2 people or maybe 5 people as compared to 80 people, let's say. So it just seems like hardly any money for them to pay to avail themselves of the Pitkin County Aspen Airport facilities and everything else that goes with landing here. And I'm wondering why there's so much objection to having higher fees for landing.
So Brian, I'll let you kind of step in here too, but I will start with this one, Francie. And all really good questions. Related to that. And remember, when we're talking about landing fees, it has to be fair and reasonable and equitable across the board. So what we do for commercial, we also have to do for GA. I know there was a discussion through work session of why can't we charge this for GA versus commercial. So I hope that helps a little bit with that, Francie, as well as
I understand that. It just seems like they're shocked at raising it more than the second scenario. Seems disingenuous.
I would say that our smaller GA, obviously above, our 12.5, but smaller than, say, a Gulfstream are probably the more vocal ones about that, because they all pay in to the trust fund in different ways, and they feel like this has been a community discussion, as John pointed out, and our delay in doing the improvements on the runway. They wouldn't have these landing fees if we didn't. So I do believe that they are very thankful for the 50% cost share in that, but also are frustrated that it has taken this long to get the pavement.
Okay.
I hope that.
Real quick.
Not really. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I share your I share in what you're saying, Francie. With
I mean,
with that.
a lot of these people who fly in on these jets, let's say it's $650 for them to land. They go out and spend that at dinner. $650.
I do understand, and I think that our most vocal base is probably under what you're talking about and over what we can offer for free landing fees, which is under 12,500 pounds.
Okay.
Patty?
I think the point that's critical for me is the fair and consistent across the board. So what we do for entity A, we have to do for entity B.
Correct.
Because there's a federal law that requires
Yes.
us to be fair and equitable across the board. We cannot discriminate because you have a big fancy Gulfstream and you can afford dinner for $650 is a good deal, Francie, up here. But then what about the little guy who's above our 12.5, right? Can they, I mean, because they're going to get hit. So it's not just, we can't just signal out, if you drive a Gulfstream and you drive, you fly, and you have a small twin engine, you're going to pay you're going to get hit. And so.
Well, I understand that, but I do see a difference in the fees for seasonal and signatory and outside covered and
Hey, Francie,
all of that.
I don't
They
think
all
Patty was
are
quite
different
done
fees
yet.
already.
That's okay.
Patty, I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. I know it can be hard to tell from in the room.
But anyway, I think there is a thing called federal law that we have to abide by in being fair and equitable and not discriminating. And that is something we've faced in many issues at the airport, and it's something that we have no control over. And I don't disagree with you necessarily, Francie, and I necessarily disagree with the federal government, but that's not going to get us anywhere either. Thanks, Kelly.
Sure. Yeah, just, I mean, we'll have you run through the presentation real
Can I
quick, but
respond?
if you would like to, yeah.
I want to respond exactly to what Patty was saying. I'm sorry, I'm not there to make this communication more smooth.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is already a discrepancy in the fees charged. So I'm not sure why that's not considered, being unfair. I mean, because, the seasonal and the GA are already different. So how does that make them equal and unfair and fair?
So maybe if we run through, if we may hold on that question, if that's okay, Kelly or Francie. We'll let Brian kind of run through our scenario too, and we may be able to answer that just through the course of the presentation.
Is that okay, Francie?
Sure.
Great, thank you.
Brian?
Sure.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for the opportunity to be before you. The slide that's currently before you represents the summary of recommended fees, calculated fees, for fiscal year 26 based on the data that's in your budget and the information we had available when we prepared the calculated rates. First, let me begin by just talking about the different classifications. So when we look at the terminal exclusive preferential space, that first set of numbers below the fully capitalized blue text, those are the various classifications of space as they exist both in Title 10 of County Code and your airline agreement. And so any carrier that is not a signatory carrier or does not meet any of the definition of multi-seasonal or pre-signatory by code and also by the airline agreement, then falls to the seasonal category. And right now you have no airlines that are seasonal in nature. But this category is defined, it is a defined term and is available if there were a carrier to come in on a seasonal basis. The last two categories under the terminal are covered and, outside covered. So this would be the area, for instance, the temporary tent, if you will, or the temporary structure outside of baggage claim that is there during peak season for queuing of baggage as it comes off the aircraft. That just all cannot fit within the terminal building and be accommodated by the baggage system. There's also a little bit on the baggage makeup area. So again, that outside covered space is what is in the airline agreements for those serving you daily or multi-seasonal at this point. Again, that outside seasonal is for an air carrier that would be for on a seasonal basis. And again, you have none of those currently at the airport, or at least in the last 7 years that I'm aware of, have had anyone to fall in that category, but it's there and defined. Under the landing fees, so the airlines, as we've talked about before, there's signatory airlines, and those are the airlines that have signed multi-year agreements with the county, and they are Delta, United, and American today. So these rates are applicable to them. They're calculated based on historical actual cost or projected cost of providing the airfield. Again, that seasonal category pays a premium because they're not signed up for multi-years. They haven't made a commitment to provide service at the airport. General aviation is calculated very much the same way. And then, of course, any aircraft 12,500 pounds or less are not charged the landing fee. Fuel flowage fees are those fees that are charged to general aviation operators taking on fuel at the airport, and they pay 14 cents a gallon. And there's also another terminal category called shared space rent. And that's for airlines that have joint use space in the terminal, could be behind the ticket counter where they're sharing some space, and that's the rate that they would be charged. You can see there that it's also applicable for the exclusive and preferential space above. Again, the rates listed under 2026 are those for scenario 2. Real quickly, as we discussed in previous work sessions, on this matter, the first step in determining rates and charges, both in the terminal and the airfield, is to develop the terminal requirement. And what goes into the terminal requirement in the terminal, and you also see in the airfield, is all of your operating expenses, both direct expenses and indirect expenses, any debt service, charges for amortization of completed capital projects that are allocated to that respective cost center, and then any small capital projects. Those are projects that are paid in cash under that amortization threshold. So you can see that for budget 2026, the terminal requirement is $6.5 million. You have usable space of 49,270 square feet. That results in a terminal rental rate inside of $132, and the exterior space is $44. Again, that's non-conditioned. It's not inside of a building, so it's discounted over and above that. So you can see the waterfall below that related to seasonal interior and exterior space as well. So you can see that of the $6.5 million requirement to make the terminal break even, roughly $3.2 million of that is going to be provided by the airlines or charged to the airlines for fiscal year 26. And that rate of $132.09 is roughly 2% greater than current fiscal year 25.
Questions for, oh, sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Any questions for Brian?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Francie, your hand is still up. Do you have questions?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
So turning to the landing fee, so again, the driving force, I think John alluded to, and as everyone is aware, for 2026, the primary cost driver for the increase is the $6.8 million runway pavement project. Scenario 1 that was discussed during the work session assumed 100% of that cost was going to be rolled into the landing fee for 2026. Scenario 2, which was discussed more thoroughly at the reading a couple of weeks ago, basically takes 1/2 of the cost to be covered by the county, and the other half would then be rolled into the landing fee requirement. So there would be kind of that 50-50 share, if you will, of that $6.8 million. The resulting rates related to that would be $12.05 for airlines. The GA landing fee would be $13.76 per 1,000 pounds. The estimated net revenue generated from the airfield by those fees would be the $17,526,000. It's necessary to, again, break even on that particular cost center for fiscal year 2026, or estimated to be for fiscal year 26. And this shows the breakdown again of first the buildup of the quote-unquote requirement in the airfield, O&M expenses for airfield. We break out ARF differently because several years ago the Board of County Commissioners voted to assess a greater share of those ARF expenses to general aviation than the airlines. The total airfield requirement is again $17.66 million. And of that amount, it is credited. First, there are some excise taxes and some fuel tax rebates. And you can see the $3.4 million for the pavement maintenance. So that makes the net airfield requirement $13.1 million. The total air carrier requirement of that amount is $9.37 million. And the GA would shoulder the burden, GA would also share in that cost as well. Those credits are apportioned out to the air carrier requirement and to the GA requirement, resulting in the air carrier requirement of being about $6.8 million, and that yields the $12.05 per 1,000 pounds for the air carriers. This is about a 55% increase in the airline landing fee over and above fiscal year 25. With board's action a year ago, which basically covered the entire cost of the airfield pavement maintenance project, the airlines and the general aviation community, both of their landing fee rates for 2025 were held constant relative to FY24. So the rate increase for this year is picking up, a little bit of a lag because there were no increases last year. So that's something to consider as you're reflecting on this as well. And this provides the calculations you can see of the general aviation side. Roughly 6.3 million of the overall requirement is allocated to general aviation based on their activity and their landed weight and the cost allocations that have been described before, which result in their landing fee of $13.76 per 1,000 pounds. This has been pointed out to staff and to us by the airlines that this rate of $12.05 is on par with such airports as LAX, Los Angeles, Chicago, Newark, and is certainly had expressed concerns, I believe, as we discussed last time, by the airlines in particular, because while the example before was of the general aviation aircraft landing one time, the airlines are obviously landing aircraft of 75, 80,000 pounds multiple times a day. So their impact to them is also of concern.
Okay,
Happy to answer
thank
any
you,
questions
Brian.
or discuss
Great.
any of the points raised here.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm comfortable. Thank you for that. It does make sense, and I think it's been well explained. I would make a motion to approve.
We have to open the public
Oh,
hearing.
it's a public hearing. I'd make a motion to open the public hearing.
Let me just see if there is any further comments or questions, I guess, from the board for Brian at this time. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Let me open. Okay. Liz, why don't you just sit and answer your question? Ask your question. Go ahead.
We're just not sure if Exhibit A got attached to the board packet or not for the resolution.
Which will be scenario 2, rates and charges.
Yeah, we just want to make sure for procedural purposes that was done correctly.
It's not on the county agenda website. You just pull up the county agenda website and click on the item.
We-
So without Exhibit A
let's
on
see.
there, Rye.
Hold on, I'm looking. Well, you can introduce it into the public record right now.
Okay, as
Um,
scenario 2.
This presentation was attached to the packet.
It was attached, that was.
Thank you, Brian, for pulling that up. This would be proposed Exhibit A.
And the board has the exhibit in front of them now.
No.
Did.
Okay. We do or do not, you do or you do not have the exhibit in
If it
front of
wasn't
you
in
right
the, if it wasn't on the county website, I do not have it before me now, because
It
I
was
print
part of
that out.
the AIS, the presentation
attached to the
was.
AIS?
Correct.
So it is in the packet?
Let's see.
Sorry.
All of the information is contained. There is not a separate document that specifically says Exhibit A
No.
on it.
Proposed scenario 2.
All right,
and
so
the
what I would
preferred
suggest
option.
then is we take a 5-minute break and have staff go ahead and create or bring the exhibits down for the board's consideration, and then you all can have a chance to look at it, and if that is acceptable to the board after you evaluate it, then we'll amend, well, I think the ordinance already, sorry, let me pull up the. Oh, that's not the right document.
Good catch, Liz.
Just want to make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's.
That's your specialty.
Can you recite it by memory, please, Liz?
Make
Not
sure
quite
I-
that good. I was.
Oh, I see, I didn't, the reso wasn't labeled as such in here, okay.
Yes, we have a resolution.
I see the
It
resolution,
refers
okay,
to
then
Exhibit
yes,
A.
that's what I would suggest. So I think it would be best to take a 5-minute break, get Exhibit A, so the board has an opportunity to consider it with the resolution. And then if Exhibit A accurately reflects the scenario that you are all looking to include, and that's been presented today, then make sure that we include as part of your motion that it's the Exhibit A that was reflective of what is presented during today's meeting.
Okey doke. All right, why don't we take an 8-minute break? We'll come back
I
at
like that.
1:50.
And who's going to be processing that document for us?
I think one of these
We got it. We'll figure it out.
ladies is gonna go grab it.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners regular session on Wednesday, December 3rd. We are discussing our resolution setting initial airport rates and charges for 2026. We had a technical matter to take care of, and so I'm confirming that Exhibit A is in front of all the board members now. It is identical to the information that was presented as well as attached in the packet as the PowerPoint presentation. But we have to do this as part of our, as an attachment to the resolution we're going to consider. I'm going to open the public hearing on this item. If there are any members of the public who wish to comment on the initial airport rates and charges for 2026, we set these annually. Now is your time, and you have 3 minutes. All right.
It's the,
No, that's okay.
know that all too
Okay,
well.
I'm not seeing, I'm gonna call the board back to order. I'm not seeing anyone here in the room or anyone online, so I'm gonna close the public hearing and look to the board for a further discussion or a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the initial airport rates and charges for 2026.
And this is reflecting a 50% contribution from our fund balance for the paving project. Is there a second?
yeah, second.
Any further discussion?
Just that
Oh, wait, did we open,
50%.
did we open the public hearing?
She did. She opened and closed it.
Missed that?
The 50% is $3.4 million, right? That's what we're kicking into it.
Correct.
I think that's just good to have that.
And I did have one more comment. You know, every 5 years, the FAA there is a reauthorization bill of FAA rules that goes through Congress. I think that is our community opportunity to advocate for the ability to discriminate on some of these things that may be more closely aligned with our community goals on how we manage our airport. Patty.
And National Association of Counties Transportation Policy Committee, which I am sitting on with, not a lot of people are sitting on it, is looking at the road reauthorization for roads now, and then we'll be transitioning into the FAA. So I will be following with that, and I'm hopefully handing that off to whoever wants to take over my seat from Pickens County with NACO.
All right.
But yeah, I'm on it.
Any
Thanks,
further
Kelly.
discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Commissioner.
thanks, Brian, if you're still there. Thanks for all your hard work.
email to you all.
Item number 12, an ordinance approving a lease agreement between the BoCC and Community Health Services at the Michael E. Schultz Health and Human Services Building. Let's see, we are doing, and we'll be doing another one for Recovery Resources. So if you want to talk about both, and then we'll vote on them separately as two different leases, feel free. Welcome back, Kevin Warner.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello again. And so, yes, we spoke about this on November the 19th in a first read. We have two lease renewals in front of you today for a second read. So one with Community Health Services, which is a clinic that offers affordable health services to folks that choose to use that. And then also Recovery Resources, which is they work with folks with substance use and homelessness and support folks with that. So basically, both of these institutions are already housed within the Health and Human Services building, and these are just renewing those same leases that we have in place. I will note that at the last read, Commissioner Woodruff, who's not here today, did ask for and request from us for some additional information around whether or not there was a benefit to either the nonprofit entity or the county to make any changes to the in-kind contribution of the lease that we provide. And I am looking into that and have started the conversations and investigating it, but I don't have an answer for that question today. So we'll make sure to get that squared away and figured out, though. And then if this were to be approved today, then we'd be looking to sign the lease, and that would be effective starting January 10th, and it would go through December 31st of 2026.
Okay, Patty has a question.
I don't know what Jeffrey's question was. I understand the question, but I don't know what he was trying to vet out of the answer.
Yeah, Patty, so we charge right now, or
He was
yeah,
saying if we
we
increase the
charge-
square footage amount, and so it made our in-kind more, would that benefit the nonprofit when they were?
if we were to move it from
Something?
the current rate of $35 a square foot to say 50 or some other number, and that would show a different in-kind contribution that the county is providing to the nonprofit entity. The question was whether that would be a benefit to either the nonprofit in any grant writing or anything, or possibly a benefit to the county for any grants that we apply for in the realm of health and human services as well.
So as if we had matching funds or something.
Or like a greater percentage of their administrative
Yeah,
overhead.
yeah.
Exactly.
raised.
Yeah, so I think is a good question.
Yeah.
And it would be a good answer, but I think it's pertinent to all of the leases we have in the building, not just specific to these two.
And if I'm recalling the conversation we had correctly, I think Lindsay was going to bring that back to the pod to get an understanding from that, because really the benefit would accrue to the nonprofits. And I could see arguments where that would cut both ways, if they're showing a greater contribution. Maybe that's a match opportunity, or maybe it's viewed as really a higher level of fungible funding that the nonprofit has that may discourage other grantees. So I think, if I recall correctly, Lindsay was going to try and have that conversation in the pod.
broader discussion.
Yep.
Okay, I'm good. Thanks. Thank you.
That's correct. That's where we're at right now.
Okay, any further questions? Otherwise, I'll open the public hearing on ordinance 12, which is the lease agreement for community health services. Okay, are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this lease? Rosa, do you mind just checking online, please? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Greg. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, ordinance number 13, a lease agreement with Recovery Resources. Anything additional to offer?
Same.
On this one? Okay. Let me open the public hearing on this. Sorry, Rosa, just double check again.
Why is it doing that?
The camera keeps zooming in on Francie's
fire.
fireplace. And so
All right,
yeah.
I'll close the public hearing and I'll look for a motion for this, approving this lease agreement with Recovery Resources.
It's the motion, Francie.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Greg. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, item number 14. This is a resolution authorizing a site agreement between Pickens County and Pano AI Inc. for the installation of fire detection equipment at the Thomasville Telecommunications site. We heard this on first reading a couple months ago. And I see, Drew, can you make Drew a panelist, please? I think we left this, Rye and Drew were working to finalize some language.
And we did do that. I'm not sure what else Drew has to change. I think there are no other changes except to the indemnification language that was the holdup, well, I shouldn't say holdup, was the last provision that needed to be resolved for second reading, and that has been resolved from my perspective, but whether Drew has any other changes to the agreement and or any additional information for the BoCC, I'll let him chime in on that.
Thanks, Rye. And yeah, no additional changes, no additional information. I think this is a great community benefit for the county, for Pano, for our local fire responders, first responders and fire agencies. And I'm open to any questions the board might have.
Patty.
I just have a question. I support this program. I mean, I had difficulty supporting it to begin with, but now that we've broadened the horizons, literally, of the Pano cameras, we need to do whatever we can do to spot fires before they become tragedies. And the sooner you get to them, the sooner you get them out. So, but on the AIS that I have before me, under the key discussion items, it says Pano AI will install and maintain a camera station at Thomasville in a workman-like manner. What in the heck does workman-like manner mean, Drew?
That's kind of a catch-all term we use because it can be very tedious to explicitly define every single fine point of a proper installation at a telecommunications site. And there is no official legal standard by which telecommunication equipment on a tower has to be installed. Internally, we do utilize our own standards such as Motorola R56 and others set by the Telecommunications Industry Association. So that in spirit is to do kind of a catch-all, and it gives us the authority to look at the work they do and say, yes, this was done appropriately into our standards. So it's left kind of in a vague wording like that to kind of encapsulate the standards which aren't legally enforceable, and just to make sure that it's up to the standard that the telecommunications department expects on all of our towers.
Okay, I just had never seen that term in an AIS before, in much of anything, so thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Of course.
Even as a woman who believes it should be workwoman-like manner, I will accept workman-like manner.
Everything's got to be done in a workman or workwoman-like manner.
I know.
Okay, well, let me open the public hearing on this item. Anyone wish to comment on our site agreement with Pano AI for fire detection equipment at Thomasville? Rosa, please just double check online. All right, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Is there further discussion or a motion to approve?
I will approve the resolution authorizing a site agreement between Pickens County and Pano AI.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Francie, are you thumbs up?
Aye.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Rye, for getting this
Thanks,
done.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to land use public hearing, a little later than I'd hoped, but here we are. We are going to review Pickens County Land Use Code text amendments and amendments to zoning regulations for the valleys of Capitol Creek and Snowmass Creek Overlay District. This is a second reading. We had a discussion on these texts previously and requested some updates or consideration of some changes at that time. And Leslie, I'll welcome. We have Leslie Lamont from Community Development.
In person.
And can I ask Leslie a question?
Yes.
Is this your last time coming before us? It is?
Nah, we can
I'm gonna make her
structure that.
cry,
I'm not
sorry.
going to make you do the TDR thing on the 17th.
Long and illustrious career.
I want to thank Leslie for time served.
Yes.
Thank you.
On both
No
sides
doubt.
of the board.
And you can cry because I already am.
Oh, you already are.
Leslie, they go way back to when we were on the Board of Commissioners together.
We had a good cry together the other
And I was on planning and zoning before that, so yeah, we go way back.
Yeah,
Before her kids, not before mine, but before her
how
kids.
about we go to the calendar and then we can, okay, my slideshow is ready for you today. Unlike a month ago.
Can I make a motion to continue this just to keep?
I'll second that motion and we can vote.
Okay, all in favor?
I don't know. I don't approve. I don't accept the motion as chair. Let's move. Let's get this work done here.
Okay.
And then do more fun things with Leslie in her remaining
Yes.
time here.
Like Friday night,
Yeah. Great.
Yes.
right? Okay,
Are you coming Friday night?
it's moving slow today.
Hopefully we won't have a blizzard like last year.
It's supposed to snow tomorrow night.
I want to share.
It's supposed to snow the next several days.
There we go.
Great.
Thank
We
you.
need
Yay,
it.
snow.
Okay, so, this is your second reading of the ordinance for the text amendments as proposed by the caucus of the Valley of Capitol Creek and Lower Snowmass Caucus. And this they are in an overlay district. Now, I need to get out of this. How do I do that?
Out of what?
Okay, I'm just gonna go to here. Okay, so this is the boundary of the overlay district. And it also has the various zone districts in it. And I think at first reading, I corrected the ordinance in the memo and told you that there is also an AH. There's a small portion in this overlay district that is zoned AH. There's also a small portion of the zone district that is zoned B2. And then the post office is zoned public. So the proposal before you that the caucus is proposing is they want to move forward with land use code legislation to implement some recommendations of the master plan. And that master plan was recently adopted in 2023. And staff agreed to sponsor the text amendments so the code changes could be adopted in a timely manner. The overlay district is a zoning overlay that was implemented in December of 2023 by the BoCC. The overlay district limited the final maximum residential floor area to 5,750 square feet and prevents the use of TDRs or GMQS allotments to increase beyond 5,750. So these are the sections of the code that the caucus is proposing to be amended. They want to add, and in your, attached to your ordinance Exhibit A are the actual sections of the code, and in red are the changes that are being proposed. So they're proposing to amend Section 34090, as I'm saying up here, to add general language to protect and preserve the quality of life in the Snowmass Capitol Creek area. They'd like to amend the same section, adding residential design and citing criteria standards for new residential development. And this mostly comes at when we do an activity envelope and a site plan review. That would be where that language would pop into. They also want to amend the table in Section 4 of the code to prohibit new free market duplex, multifamily, and mobile homes within the overlay district, and also to amend the same table to prohibit future special event venues in the overlay district. There was also a section in the code, a section that I guess I didn't get it up here. There's also a language recommendation to amend the language to require all special event permits to special event permits applications to be sent to the caucus, to any caucus in the county for review by the planning director, for referral comments by the planning director. So this is second reading of the ordinance. Your first reading was November 5th. The end of October, the P&Z made recommendations, heard these same text amendments and made recommendations to the BoCC. The BoCC heard this at your first reading November 5th. And you also directed staff and the caucus to go back and look a little bit harder at some of the language that that they were proposing. So the first one is they had a, and that is in that's on page 3 of Exhibit A, of your Exhibit A. It's letter J, and there was a clause in there that said no nighttime lighting is allowed for outdoor recreational facilities, as those facilities are defined in Chapter 11 of the Land Use Code. So we had a kind of a big discussion about that, and Martha Ferguson joined us in that discussion. She unfortunately cannot be here today. She wanted to be, but she could not. And so she checked in with her dark sky compatriots. And the caucus is recommending that we can delete that standard because with the update to the lighting section of our code, our exterior lighting section, we have this kind of lighting covered in the code, and dark sky was happy with that. So one of the things in the lighting code is that all exterior lighting should be turned off by 10 o'clock, and they were okay with that. So the caucus is recommending that we can delete that. And then under water standards, we first talked about, and Francie, you brought this up about the language in there was requiring all revegetation to happen with Pitkin County seed mix. And I checked with Romany at Public Works, and there is a Pitkin County revegetation guide. And Public Works uses it throughout our code. We refer to the revegetation guide. So we just decided that we would, and the caucus is okay with this, I hope you guys are, to just, instead of saying Pitkin County seed mix, to refer to the guide. And within the guide, there's a whole bunch of guidance as to what you're trying to do with your property and what your property was and what you ultimately want it to be. And like the location, if we're talking a riparian habitat or we're talking a former agricultural irrigated pasture or something like that. So we're recommending that we use Pitkin County revegetation guide. Water standards. Did Francie?
Francie, do you have a question?
No, I was just saying thank you to Leslie for that.
Okay. Oh, well, it's Public Works that has this big guide to use. So we also talked about under water standards, the caucus was recommending mandating drip irrigation. And the caucus put their heads together, and I think this is Tim's terminology, to use, to change the language to say, using water-efficient technology and methods where possible, instead of mandating drip irrigation. The caucus is deleting the standards for mulch. Again, this is on page 4 of your exhibit. And then with regard to underneath its water standards and as well as agriculture irrigation, RI recommended language for the ponds. So there's two, we broke that out into 2 items. Ponds shall only be allowed for irrigation purposes and state-approved augmentation plans, and ponds shall not be approved for aesthetic purposes. And that's under water standards and again under agricultural irrigation. So that's what we went back to, and that's what we've come up with and are recommending to you.
Great. Questions?
Real quick about the ponds.
Yeah.
So when you say for augmentation, what about fire suppression issues? Is that considered something? I mean, I agree with the terms about for aesthetic purposes and, yeah.
The fire districts used to want ponds for fire suppression, and they're moving away from that because if they're not full in the wintertime or
And
they're
they're hard to
frozen,
access sometimes
and sedimentation.
Yeah.
So now, like
And salamanders. I'm serious.
Oh, yeah. So like Oxenberg, for example, when we started with Oxenberg, they were proposing a pond for fire suppression, and Roaring Fork Fire and Rescue supported that. But then as we went through the process, they moved away from that, and now they're having to do a tank.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Question?
Go ahead, please.
It seems almost quaint to me, but item C, page 2, new development shall not include overhead beams or arches over driveway entrances. At first blush, that looks like a petty thing to me, but I'd love to understand the provenance of it and why I see it everywhere.
I can talk from the zoning perspective that when we get an application in like that, we look at it pretty closely for emergency access, height, and they cannot be within the setback. They have to be outside of the setback, and then we don't really have a zoning setback issue. But
Outside the setback from their road or from the county road or?
from their front yard setback. So if the front yard setback is 30 feet, then
Has to be outside that,
that has to be further within their property.
further within the property.
Yeah.
Copy that. Okay, I was just reading it thinking, okay, what was the purpose? But
But
fitting a fire
this-
truck through makes a lot of sense.
But the caucus is saying, doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
We don't
So
want 'em.
I'll let them answer that.
Well, Ned participated in those discussions more than I, so Edmund Andrews is here for the caucus as well.
Oh, red light on the microphones, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Sorry.
by history, can I jump? By history, we've had issues with the gated entrances with windbreaks of trees lining the driveways, lit up and all that. So we came down pretty hard some years ago on that, and I think this is just furthering that effort.
Go ahead, Ned. Yeah.
So it just seemed unnecessary to have, elaborate gates and entries. And I think that was the main part of it. The issues that you raised of, having windbreaks and, extensive vegetation, hedges and such. So, and then frequently they end up getting lit up at night. And sort of become signs. Well, when is it a gate and when is it a sign? So that was kind of where we came down on it and put it in the master plan.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
Other questions?
I do have something that wasn't brought up.
Oh, sorry. Let me go to Patty and then Francie.
We had, and I'm sorry I didn't go, because I was reading this specific changes. The terminology, mobile homes to trailers, we cleaned that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Francie, go ahead.
Well, the libertarian in me is raising its ugly head here. This is a very restrictive master plan, and some of it seems to me it's based on the people's tastes. And I do think that master plans or caucuses should have some say over how their caucus develops, but I think I said this when you came before us before, I'm a little concerned about this one. But specifically, I have a question, and that is, I read over the master plan that we passed in 2023, and it seems that a lot of the language that is in these proposals for amendments is already in the original, or maybe it's not the original master plan, but the 2023 master plan. A lot of the stuff about water and all kinds of things. So I'm wondering about all these addenda and if they're really required. And then my second question is, the very last, part of the packet has the comments from staff and it looks like the staff recommendation is to exclude the language with the lines through it. Is that what that means, Leslie?
Are
I'm
you?
on page, for instance, 300, it's number 1 in attachment G. Attachment G.
So you're looking at the P and Z packet? And
Or the first round board packet.
or the first board packet?
It's called attachment G.
Yeah.
It's on 308 of our packet. It's page 1 of attachment G. And there's a whole lot of red lines.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if that's what the staff wants to exclude or I'm just confused about what all this means, because it looked like a lot of what the staff wanted to remove a lot of what was in here. I just
Right.
had trouble figuring out where this fits into the current amendment
Yeah.
application.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're talking about. So originally, when staff first went to the P&Z, staff had some fairly strong recommendations based upon what the caucus was proposing. So what I did is the black text with the line through it, any black text is the existing code. The red text is what the caucus was proposing, the changes to the code. Then what I did for the P&Z and for first reading at the BoCC is I then took the caucus's red text and I crossed through the red text based upon what staff's recommendation was.
But we're beyond all that now?
Yes, we are. So yeah, the P&Z really didn't support staff's position, and the BoCC didn't support staff's position. But I felt, at least at first reading, that you guys should know at least what staff's position was.
Okay.
So the
Thank you so much.
operative document to be looking at, Francie, for today's meeting is attachment A, which is the same as G.
I read through attachment A thoroughly and the original master plan.
Right.
And so I do still have an issue with the section on no duplexes and no mobile homes. I feel like you guys are putting something in there that you may regret after a while. And I suppose you could change it in the future. You're changing it now. So I just think it's making a decision that, and this is what I said last time, that only wealthy people can live up there. You know, that there's no room for housing for people who aren't either already owning property there or moving in at a pretty extreme price range. So it just bothers me a little bit. It just seems a little bit unnecessarily restrictive, and it may end up that you have a rancher who moves up there and really wants to put in some housing for their staff, and you've put in your master plan that they can't do it unless it's a single standing CDU or something. So anyway, I do still have a problem with that.
Could I clarify? This discussion happened at the first reading as well, and we offered at that time to change that language. And because you're looking at G, you may not see that, but we offered to change that language to free market. So it's only free market. It's only free market that's being limited. So any deed restricted, staff housing would be permitted in those unit types.
Yeah. There's a lot about this I like. If I lived in your caucus, I would squawk more, put it that way, about how sort of oppressively dictatorial this is. But like I say, it's the ugly libertarian in me coming out. I can't help it.
All right, thank you, Francie.
Could I just
Yes,
respond to her question
Ned.
about the master plan and the zoning code?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
I've been chair of the caucus now for 3 years, and we've spent the whole 3 years starting with revising our master plan and then going through P&Z and BoCC. And at that point, I talked with Suzanne and and others and said, okay, is that enough? And what we were advised is that the master plan is in fact just advisory. And if you want to establish something as policy that people can really rely upon, then you need to put it into the zoning code. And so we undertook that effort.
Yeah, I was
Here we
going to
are
provide.
today at
Yeah, I was
second
going to
reading.
say, I was going to provide some further clarification if Mr. Andrews hadn't. You're at a different stage in your process here. The master plan is approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission with work from staff, and is really a document that's propounded by the caucus area, or the caucus for the caucus area. Now you have a legislative act in front of you to actually implement some of those recommendations in the master plan into the county code itself, into the zoning action and the land use code. So while the master plan is largely a creature of and propounded by the caucus, when you get to this point, what the BoCC ultimately adopts into the zoning regulation is at the prerogative of the BoCC. Of course, you have your Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation in front of you, and the caucus is the applicant on this particular application that's in front of you. But ultimately what the BoCC wants to do today is what matters, of course, taking into consideration the recommendation from your Planning and Zoning Commission. So that is a different stage in the process. You're taking, as Mr. Andrews alluded to, a recommendation and turning it into the legislative act of the BoCC today. So
to further clarify, it's only a handful of the policies and recommendations that are in the master plan that are being proposed here as being included in the code to give them further enforcement ability, if you will.
Francie, your hand is still up. Do you have another question or comment?
Yes, I do. It's a little bit different, so if are you ready for me to change the subject?
I believe we are, yes.
Okay. How many people were involved in accepting this master plan? And I'm asking because there are several people, including myself in the Crystal River Caucus, who are looking at making some amendments on our master plan. And I'm just concerned that sometimes we have meetings where there's only like 7 people, and it seems concerning that 7 people would put together a master plan for the whole area. So I'm kind of wondering, how did that go for you guys?
So thank you very much for your question. Am I on?
Red light's on.
Yeah, red light on.
Okay.
Yes, you're on.
We went through 18 versions of the plan. So it was circulated not only to the board of the caucus, but to, we use a constant contact where we have almost every resident, and it's just not landowner, but every resident in our caucus area receives these constant contact. We distributed it twice. And then we also had 2 public meetings where anyone could come in and discuss particular issues, particular concerns they had. So this master plan was extensively vented through our caucus area over a period of about 6 to 8 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great, thank you, I appreciate that answer a lot. I mean, I think you've done an amazing job with it, and as I say, most of it I agree with. So I'll be voting in favor of it, but with a little bit of concern.
Thank you.
And I just have a couple comments regarding the changes.
Please, go ahead.
First of all, we support all the changes. We worked with Leslie and appreciate the input from Richard. And the caucus distributed the changes, I think, through email or through your constant contact. And we did get some feedback. And of course, we had input from Martha Ferguson on the lighting aspects. So we are in total agreement with the staff about what's being presented to you today. I would only point out a couple of changes. And one is that on page 4, where we have under the agricultural section, where we have changed to my suggested language, instead of talking about drip irrigation, where we say water efficient technology and methods, where possible got dropped off there. So I would suggest that we add that. And then for the ordinance itself, on item number 2, under the now therefore be it ordained, this is the one that's talking about the footnotes that are being added to table 4-1A, the permitted uses table. And here it says, footnote 2, prohibiting duplex, multifamily. I recognize that this is just a summary, but I think it would be appropriate to put free market here because we want to make sure that even in the ordinance that's adopting that language is consistent with what we're proposing in the actual amendments defined in attachment A. That's it.
Okay. Do you agree with those requested changes to ordinance language and such? Okay. Is there further discussion? I will open it for public hearing if there's no further questions. Okay, let's open the public hearing. This is a second reading on the Land Use Code text amendments to zoning regulations for the valleys of Capitol Creek and Lower Snowmass Creek. Is there anyone online? Jill, do you wish to comment on this? No? Okay, I will close the public hearing then and bring it back to the board for further discussion. Thank you for your responsiveness to our input from first reading. Is there any additional? Yep, Patty?
My only comment is thank you for your effort. It's not an easy process. Been through it many times over the years. It's nice to see you. And that's part of it. You give us a recommending document, and then we try and codify the issues of greatest importance whenever, and to do the enforcement so they have some meat behind them. So if Kelly, if it's okay for me to do a motion?
Please.
I would like to do a motion to approve with the changes of adding language where possible, not adding language where possible, but adding the language where possible, and free market. And then I am good to go.
I'll second that.
Wonderful. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
Enjoy your
Okay,
holidays
that's
now.
4-0. Thank you
Likewise.
very much.
And watch those Christmas lights, because we're watching you guys.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, please,
I
Suzanne.
just sort of sitting back here realized that
We already acknowledged it.
that Leslie. You did. Okay,
Yeah, I did. I made her.
You did. Okay, I missed it. I missed it. I was like, she made it through her whole thing. She didn't cry. Like maybe we should make her cry now. Okay, I missed it.
Can't believe I'm here
Okay.
for your
Well,
last
we're
meeting.
going to do open discussion so we can just sit and have a cry if we
I'm
need
about
to
to
right
call
now.
this thing back up here. Because,
You know what? Greg said, let's continue it.
She has to come back.
we could draw this out
Okay, I
for 3
missed
more
all.
years is what I was thinking.
I was receiving a Mylar.
Yes.
But didn't the two of you start working together some years ago?
We were 6 months apart.
No, but what about Leslie and you?
She was already there.
You were here for
I was
a
already
year or
there.
2. Yeah.
1989,
Wow.
So 3 years.
April 1st,
I started
1989.
Oh, what a
92.
joke.
I know, right?
Time
I was
flies.
Alan Richmond's last hire.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was one of Suzanne Conchit's first.
Oh, God. Just thinking about her the other night.
Institutional knowledge
I know,
here.
it's like a real
Thank you.
revolving door.
Leslie, we thank you.
You're going to miss
Thank
us.
you, Ned.
I will. I can always watch you on TV.
Yeah, right.
Leslie.
Don't you dare.
Any last comments?
Well, I just say for the caucus, I want to thank everyone. It's been a long process, but it has been a good process, and we appreciate all the support and advice that we've gotten going through this. So, thank you very much to
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for
Been a
taking
great
the
steward.
hard work.
No,
Thank
being
you.
being a caucus chair is at times probably more difficult than sitting on the Board of County Commissioners.
Well,
I know
don't about
HOAs that keep wanting me involved in an HOA. That's something I'm not going to do. All right, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
All right. Well, we have reached,
Drive carefully.
we have reached the open discussion portion of our meeting. John Peacock, do you have any open discussion?
I don't have any for you today.
Okay.
When is your last meeting? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing a. I know I got a plan. I got a plan to make you
We've got
cry.
a whole thing planned. Okay, I have some open discussion. Does anyone else wish to go?
I am good, I think.
Okay. I wanted to just give a quick heads up, because it came to my attention after our future agendas conversation yesterday, but We have on our agenda next Tuesday an update on the regional housing needs assessment. It's going to Snowmass and Aspen the day before it comes to us. So just in the event that it's in the paper on Tuesday morning, I just wanted you all to know we're talking about it Tuesday afternoon.
And who is putting that together again?
I feel like the city was the owner of the project, and we all pitched in money to have it done.
Yeah, it was a regional effort, but the city played lead role in the grant. We were not required to do it, but did come in just so other regional entities would qualify for Prop 123 dollars.
So I was going to say for 123.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that the regional housing needs assessment is going to tell us we need housing.
It likely will.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, this is a state process. This was not, I think, something that staff from any of the entities would have recommended outside of the Prop 123 eligibility.
Well, we need to have it prepared just in case Prop 123 ever lets us do anything with Prop 123 money. Okay, great.
Skippy told us that we needed 6,000 housing units. It'll be interesting to see if this study comes up with an actual recommendation.
All right, we look forward to it. We have about 45 minutes slated for that conversation, so hopefully that will be sufficient.
Can't wait. I've never had a housing assessment conversation.
I mean, all housing all the time. Let's see, we already discussed the air quality work session thing, and then I just want to sort of flag something that I've been thinking more about, and I'm wondering how our use of AI within the county is being contemplated in terms of governance related to AI, in terms of generation of climate impact, and whether we are able to track that. Are just some things I've been thinking about.
So we've got really a nascent AI policy that's really been about trying to collect that type of information. So that as departments are exploring individual use or such of AI tools, that we are getting those inventoried through IT. With the idea that we will be, making an assessment, and that assessment is along several criteria right now. There's obviously, I think, a lot of concern about public information. There's concern about the carbon footprint. There's concerns about who owns the information and such. But things are moving in this space very, very quickly. And so we're collecting that information to understand how AI is being used and what the implications of some of the applications that departments are using right now. And then we do have intent to be looking at bringing forward AI policies, but we didn't want to do it outside of really understanding kind of the environment right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think about too is, should we be sort of citing use of it in as a tool? Like, what is what is the degree of we pay a lot of money for staff who we think are doing the work of their own expertise. If they're relying on AI for production of work product, like, should we cite that, and make that?
Yeah.
These are
I don't know.
These are all the policy questions that I think we understand we need to wrestle with. It's also part of the conversation. I think Kara had mentioned to you all, we had done an IT assessment through FedTech, and part of it is kind of that AI and how we start to get our hands around that going forward. Yeah.
Okay.
We are not based. That was part of what I did in Boston this summer, was go to that training on AI. We are actually a little bit ahead of the curve in how we're thinking about it for organizations, but everyone's a little bit behind the curve of how the technology is being implemented. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
I just think a policy of citing and even maybe presenting the percentage, the ratio, AI was used in the creation of this document. Maybe there's a way to quantify it, 16% or 80%. Maybe that's possible, maybe that's too onerous, but it would be really helpful to just say it outright with the document, because we're going to see it creeping into everything. To what extent has it been vetted is the other question, of course. The things that I think are scariest, and I heard about just over the holiday, where people said they've been getting phone calls and having conversations with AI, thinking they were talking to a human, being given misinformation, and then getting a call from a human saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, our AI agent called you by mistake." And they said they had no idea they were talking to an artificial intelligence. It was a realtor called in and was making inquiries about real estate. Another one was a chimney cleaning company. A woman set up to have her chimney cleaned, and the whole thing was an AI conversation, and it turns out the company never even came to her district. So, but the thing is, you can't tell any longer.
It is really difficult. I've seen Zoom meetings where actually an avatar is showing up, and it's taken quite a while to understand that, that's not that person. Actually,
That
it's
happened to me in
trained.
the very beginning.
And so we are trying to get our heads around these policy issues, even the citing the percentage. I think a citing that AI is used, and we're using it a lot because we're doing pilots even within our department right now on internal training with Madison AI and such, to see if we can improve productivity and that sort of thing, response times. The percentage can be really hard to get at, but just citing that it was used, it's something we can explore for sure.
If it's original document, then maybe it'd be easier.
Yeah, and we'll have to do a check-in. I do not know where we're at right now off the top of my head and building that inventory too of AI apps. I do know that a lot of AI note takers show up to my manager chats and that sort of thing.
And they're hard to get out of the meeting. We tried to get one off of a Northwest COG meeting.
Yeah, they can be.
Nobody knew how to get them off.
Out of exec session, right?
Yeah, it was an exec session.
I showed up in an exec session once when I wasn't there, but they.
This was an AI note taker at exec, and we're like, where did this come from?
But we do have it on our radar screen to be doing policy development. I think we need some more knowledge build, but we are doing that in terms of inventory and also the assessments right now. And it's a disruptive technology.
And we're going to, about it. I think we're going to depend upon it.
Yeah,
sooner than we know.
Well, there are some things about it I love, like, oh my God, like citing references, things like that. It's like,
that stuff makes sense.
Dump that stuff in and say, put this to APA style and stuff like that. I think it's
and doing editing, like but it can't be left to its own. And it's a statistic predictive model. It's linear algebra, basically.
Even editing, though, I mean, I feel like it's like you have people who are talented communicators through writing, and then people who rely on AI. You know what I mean? Like, and it's one's a little bit more authentic than the other.
Yeah.
Right?
Welcome to the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have one much less interesting update, but it does look like we got the HVAC and pressure system fixed in the clerk and recorder's office. So we have a system in there that is supposed to, we've had sewer gas backups in the past after we redid the building, and we installed a system that provides positive pressure to kind of push the gas where it's supposed to go or keep the gas where it's supposed to go. That system failed, and the alarm didn't make it to facilities. And so as they work through it, they've been able to fix the positive pressure. And I don't know exactly how they do that. I'm sure it's a fan of some kind.
Right. John mentioned it to me earlier, and we opt to not make staff come back into the building and drive back up here.
Yeah, it was fixed more quickly than identified and fixed more quickly than we thought.
All right, any other open discussion right now? We have an open house. We have open houses tomorrow for the airport. I know we've noticed it. Ryan sent out a reminder.
Yeah, there's 2 sessions, one
11:30
1:30
to
and
1
one.
and one 4:30 to 6:30. I'm gonna go to the midday session.
I'll go to the later afternoon, after the Transportation Coalition meeting, which is tomorrow.
Okay. All right, well, if that's it, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Bye, Francie.
Will I see you tomorrow, Greg?
Yes.
Oh, great, okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Greg.